I'll just have to check that we're on Facebook as well. So if I'm just looking down, I end up multitasking.
You're like a technical supreme.
Good evening and welcome to UK Crime Book Club. I'm hoping that everybody can see us. I'm glancing about 3 different places at once, so apologies. This evening I'm delighted to be joined by Deborah O Connor, and Deborah's book Dear Future Me, we were just talking about it, kept me gripped. I started it at the weekend and I read in a day, so that's a good sign for a good book for me. So thank you, Deborah. Would you like to introduce yourself and the book?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Deborah O Connor. Dear Future Me is my 4th novel now. And it's a psychological thriller. And I got the idea from a really beautiful, very moving viral video about this Canadian school teacher who would get his class to write themselves Dear Future Me letters, which lots of teachers do. My kids have done it. It's like an ongoing personal development exercise in schools.
Yeah.
But this teacher was really unusual because he got his students to do this exercise and then he would keep the letters for 20 years. And then he had them all in boxes, like in this room in his house. And then he would track down the students who had grown up and living with their lives, had completely forgotten writing about these letters containing their hopes and dreams for the future. And he would just post them back to them all, en masse all at once one day. And it was kind of an incredible story.
Yeah.
And it was it was this really beautiful feel-good film, but I just watched it and thought, oh my God. First of all, I thought, I'm not sure I would be very happy about that happening, because you're kind of just going about your daily life and then you get smacked in the face with this sort of teenage, you know, when you're teenagers, anything's possible. I'm going to play football for England. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And then real life gets in the way, and compromise and practicalities and things like that. And most of us don't get to do our dreams. No. And you don't really want to be reminded of that. It's not very nice. That was the first thing I thought. And then the second thing I thought was, 20 years is a really long time. And no one was expecting him to keep those letters. What if there was something really, really bad in one of those letters? So I kind of took this really beautiful feel good. It was just like my default, like, oh, what if there's something really bad in letters? And you thought it was gone for good. And then this teacher kept it. And so that's where I got the idea for the book. And that's kind of what my book is about. And so the novel starts, and it's like the start of that viral video. The letters all arrive into this class, all now grown up through their letterboxes. They're all living their different lives. And within an hour of the letters arriving, one of the classmates is dead. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I put that in my notes. Is like, what a shocking beginning, because literally the letters arrive and then there's a death, isn't there? So, it's and in the beginning it's not clear why this has happened.
No.
I don't think it's a spoiler, because I think it says on the back of the book, doesn't it, that, well, it does say deadly, can be deadly, so I won't give away spoilers. It's really difficult, but yeah, it sort of happens in a sort of a notorious place. So in the beginning it sort of thinks
it's ambiguous.
Well,
how and why did this person die is very ambiguous. And it seems cut and dried at the beginning, kind of, but it's not. And it seems to be directly correlated to the arrival of these letters. And so the best friend of the person who dies kind of takes it upon herself to kind of try and figure out why, what was in these letters, what was in them that would make her do this, what could possibly be. And she kind of goes around the ready-made structure of the class. It's kind of like going from person to person, sort of trying to put together this kind of jigsaw puzzle of the class and try and figure out what happened back then. Was it connected to something that happened back then? Is it connected to something that happened now? So that's the kind of cut and thrust of the novel, really. And it's all set in a seaside town called Saltburn-on-Sea, which is just near where I live. It's where I grew up. And it's this really beautiful sort of stretch of the North Yorkshire coastline, which is it's a very small town. It's like really interesting. It's kind of 3 towns on this stretch of coastline, and one's very sort of like commercial arcades. The one in the middle is tiny little fishing, beautiful little, and then one is more touristy. And it's kind of I love it. We go there all the time, and I just feel so lucky to live nearby it. But I'm sort of fascinated by these places as well, the people who stay and the people who go, and or the people who come back, and why. So it's kind of as much about the place and the sense of place and the cliffs and the sea and the sky and the environment as it is about the story. The place is a big part of the setting.
I really found that with the characters, because like most of them, like you said, most of them sort of leave and then come back, you know, which like, I mean, I did. So I live in the same village. I live in the same village as I grew up in. You know, my mum and dad are still here. My sister, one of my sisters is here. So there is that sort of connection, isn't it? And sort of familiarity, but also in your book, some of them haven't been able to go away. So Audrey is that, isn't she? So Audrey is the best friend, and she didn't realize her dream for various reasons, but mainly because she was looking after her brother, wasn't it, really? Her brother Ned.
So she kind of is very bright and kind of had this, you know, was hoping to go to kind of Cambridge to study, and sort of saw that as her way out. And very tragic sort of family circumstances, she ends up very nobly kind of taking on the care of her younger brother. And kind of just after that, her life is a kind of question of survival, which I think it is for many people. You just kind of have to get on with it. And it's kind of like, well, it's a huge luxury to choose and do all these wonderful things. And I'm just trying to do the right thing. And I'm just trying to kind of pay the bills and keep my head above water. And so she kind of does that, and she sort of stays and sort of feels like she's a bit of a failure and she hasn't really made much of her life. And actually she's incredibly admirable as a person, because she's sacrificed so much to keep her sort of younger brother in the kind of family unit rather than taken into foster care or something. And I think that's I don't know about you, but as I get older and you kind of look at life and you look at the kind of cards that people are dealt, or the choices that they make, or the choices that they actually don't have to make, or the choices that are taken away from them. And you kind of look around and I think the class that you're in at school, I think, is this really kind of unique group of people, because it's this sort of like random sample of people.
Yeah.
And then you kind of always remember who was in your class, and then you sort of follow their trajectory through life. Especially I think with social media, it allows you to do that more and more.
Yeah.
You go, oh God, they're not around anymore, or they ended up in prison, or they're, you know, a millionaire, or you know, it's really interesting, isn't it? And you kind of, but you also, or certainly as I get older, you kind of realize, God, you know, some people, the cards that they're dealt are really tough.
Yeah.
And actually some of the people that were in my class at school, there's one person in particular, and one of the characters in the novel is based on, and she knows this, and I acknowledge her in the book and everything, based on her in terms of how much I admire her and the sacrifice she made. In terms, the character in the book is a bit airheaded. My friend is incredibly intelligent, but you know, she had her first child when she was 21, and her child has extreme special needs. And that child, her daughter, is now a grown-up, but she's devoted her entire life to caring for her daughter. And so her life took on a totally different trajectory that she could never have imagined.
No.
And you kind of just go, God, you know, you just don't know. And I think I find that kind of fascinating when you look at classes in that way, and you kind of go, you think that you're in control, and you think that, oh, I can do this and this and this, and I'll do really well in my exams, and I'll do this and I'll get to do that. And actually you just kind of have to roll with what your punch is. And I don't know, I think that's one of the other reasons I wrote the book, that I kind of find that fascinating, and that it's quite a universal thing, that you just, yeah, so I get, and I think also the fact that, hopes and dreams are sold to us, aren't they, as this like
Yeah.
good thing. It's good to have hopes and dreams. And yeah, it is. But I also think there can be a bit of a millstone around people's neck. And
Well, it's like,
overall, I didn't live up to it. But
well, that's the other character, Kitty, isn't it?
yeah,
She's like we were talking about this at work the other day about like the popular gang, the
yeah,
ones
yeah,
who were really popular, and quite often they don't turn out in life to be
no,
popular
no.
because they were like it at school, and then quite often they don't turn out to be like that.
They peak at school. I have this
Yeah.
conversation, and I've got a 13-year-old daughter who is in the kind of hellscape that is secondary school.
God, teenage girls.
Yeah. And it's just, nothing has changed. Nothing
No.
has changed since I was at school. And I kind of say to her, there's a reason The Breakfast Club is still watched today. There's a reason so many films have been made about that time in life.
Yeah.
And I kind of, you try and drill into them, those girls that are like it right now, they will be nobody. I guarantee. No, they're peaking now. They're the least interesting people in the whole class. The most interesting ones, I can pick them out. I'm like, it's them, and them.
Yeah.
Like, but it's so hard when you're in the middle of it, isn't it?
It is.
When you're in the middle of it, it's everything. But I'm like, they are like.
Well, the thing is that they are like you say, they're like they're the ones that everybody loves, and and you can't see that actually being individual and not being being
a nerd or
being girls
in the thing you're interested in, or like, but when you're that age, and I think that's one of the really interesting things about that between then and now, when you compare and contrast. And it's really hard, I think, for some people, for the rest of their lives, they peak in school at that age, and then
nothing ever again.
They're just harking back after that for the rest of their lives, which is incredibly sad. But Kitty, I think she's kind of paralyzed, almost kind of like her, she's kind of suffocated by these hopes and dreams, and actually they're not even her hopes and dreams, they're her parents' hopes and dreams, and she's trying to kind of live up to them, and it's a bit of a prison, really. So I thought that I really wanted to explore that, how they're kind of, generally the consensus is, they're good, and actually are they sometimes it's better just to kind of go, well, this is what I'd like to kind of try for now, but it's not forever, and they can change, and like flexible, and it's
the thing is, you don't really know. You realize now when you get to to be older that actually nothing when you're 16. So and what the decisions you make when you're 16 are very rarely going to be what you're going to be thinking about when you're 50. There's always, and I found that really interesting in the book, actually, is like how like 20 years later, quite a lot of most of them have changed. Some of them have got but actually sort of they're quite almost surprised, aren't they, when they get the letters that they
it's I think I describe it as like a bomb going off. It's kind of like, and I think, there are some, because obviously you can't cover all of the classmates,
kind
of just summarize, but some people, they kind of they come out, or they kind of quit their corporate job, and they're like, I'm going to go back to drama school, or I'm going to travel the world. It kind of like shocks them. It's quite a good thing. It kind of like jolts them, and they go, oh yeah, it kind of reconnects them with their true kind of inner self. They're kind of, oh yeah, actually, you know what, I really love that, and I wish I still did it, or I'm going to try again, or which again, I think a lot of people, regardless of Dear Future Me letters, they kind of often have this moment where they go, oh, I'm going to start doing that again, or, I'm going to try, you try and get back to that part of that inner core of yourself, which is a good thing. But yeah, it's kind of, it's not necessarily pleasant to get those letters, I don't think. It's not like, oh, it's this lovely like nostalgia trip. It's like a bit of a like punch to the gut. It's kind of like, oh,
well,
God.
Most of us, I don't know many people who remember. I mean, I definitely don't remember 16 as being all that fun.
No, and I was having this conversation with a friend actually at the weekend. I was away for the weekend with a friend, and we've still got our teenage diaries.
Oh, really?
Excruciating. Oh my God. But I can't throw it away. I've got one, she's got multiple ones, and I've like, I don't want my husband to read it, but I sort of said, I'm showing you this so that you know it exists, and I'm going to explain it to you, because if something happens to me, I don't need to find it and think, oh my God, because they're like, they're just horrific. They're the most embarrassing thing in the world, but I sort of can't part with it, because at that age, what, it's, I can't, it makes my toes curl just even thinking about it. It's kind of amazing I still have it, but they're awful, and the really earnest love letters you would write, I've still got those as well, from like,
it's very cringe, isn't it, what you would have done? And I think that's the thing, isn't it, as well, is it is it's, I mean, in the book, I imagine, a lot of those letters that the teacher sort of sends out probably aren't as, they don't have as much going on as but even so, like, it's because I mean, so the other thing is so Leighton, isn't it? He's the one that changed loads, isn't he?
Yeah,
so he was like the ugly duckling, wasn't he?
Yeah, the ugly duckling. Yeah, and I find those people, which it happens loads, doesn't it? But it's kind of, and it's often the narrative arc of those films. That kind of, it's a big thing, and I think it's a lot of people. It's a kind of almost. I think when you're a teen, certainly when I was a teenager, it was a kind of like fantasy thing. Oh, one day I'm going to look like X or Y or Z. And I find that fascinating, that I saw something, I don't know if it was on TikTok or something the other day, where someone said, somebody will make a comment to you, a random comment about your appearance, derogatory comment, when you're 13 or 14, and it's such a vulnerable age, you will remember it for the rest of your life. Like, you can change, you could go on the cover of Vogue, you will remember that comment and it will bug you, and you will look in the mirror and think that about your whatever part of your body forever. And I think that's absolutely true. Like with me, it was, I was incredibly skinny.
And me too.
And I was called the Stork. And if it was a windy day, they'd be like, "Oh, be careful, you don't blow away." And I used to kind of like ruche my hockey socks to try to make my legs look a bit bigger.
I was the same. I was Swanvesta because I was really, because I had red hair and I was literally and I had really skinny little I wish I had little skinny legs now.
Remember everyone, and I just think, and so for him, I thought there has to be a character where their appearance has changed radically, because it's such a kind of big thing about, and teenagers are just cruel, like they are
brutal.
And they pick out the most, they'll just make like a casual random comment in the dinner queue and it stays with you for life, and you're like, thanks a lot, but so I just thought him, I really wanted to character, and he's a very important character. But it was kind of like, especially that whole thing about there's again, the transformations of like, oh well, I've lost loads of weight and I'm a different person to there's so much there when somebody does that, especially if they've been bullied for it or ridiculed for it. And so I kind of knew, I had a kind of list, a sort of checklist of people that I wanted. There are archetypes, aren't there? But I kind of hopefully have made them less two-dimensional than that. But they're kind of archetypes for a reason. They're fascinating, and universal and timeless, because my daughter, they're the same. It's like, oh my God, like The Breakfast Club is 40 years old, that film, and it's like,
I know, it's scary, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just as relevant. She watched it like it was a documentary. She's ripped.
It's such a good film, though. I mean, it is.
It's like, I mean, it's iconic. So, and then the other kind of inspiration, I guess, was have you ever read 13 Reasons Why, or did you watch the TV drama? It's a YA novel. It's amazing.
Yes. I think
recordings. And I just loved the way that kind of pieced together again, like different classmates. It's a jigsaw puzzle, and as in the novel, when each time you kind of meet a major character, you kind of are introduced to them via a snippet from their letter, from their dear letter. And so you kind of you first of all see them as they were then, and then you're kind of presented with them as they are now. And you go, and then similarly with 13 Reasons Why, you get this like jigsaw, this collage, this kind of mosaic that you're putting together of the class. And you're trying to sort of solve a mystery as you're reading it as well, going, okay, how does that fit in with what happened then and what's happening now? And you're putting together this puzzle, hopefully, as you're reading, you're kind of trying to join dots, and as more and more information is revealed to you gradually.
So I don't think it's a spoiler to say that so there is a major incident that happened in their childhood, isn't there? So there's something that happened massive.
So while they were writing these Dear Future Me letters, there was a school trip to the Lakes District.
Yeah.
And so they were writing the Dear Future Me letters over a sort of period of time in class. And halfway during that time, the class goes on a trip to the Lakes District, and one of their class kind of gets kind of locked outside in a snowstorm and kind of freezes to death and dies. And it's obviously incredibly traumatic and horrific. Or did he? And that kind of is mentioned in the letters, and the kind of tone. So the tone and nature of some of the letters changes halfway through, because that event happens midway through their writing, through the kind of process of them writing them. And it's kind of like, okay, what was that? Was that as straightforward as it seemed? Was it just like an unfortunate tragic accident, or something else? And if so, does it connect to the now, and how or why might that be? So yeah.
I think the thing that I really liked about the book as well is there's so many secrets in the book, which I can't talk about a lot of them, but as you go through, it is almost like the onion, isn't it? It's like you peel back, and I think Audrey does that, doesn't she? Because she obviously lived through that time, so knows the people. So it's not like she's like a detective who's like meeting these people. She remembers them all. She knows them all, and she knows obviously what was supposed to have happened. But she's even surprised at the things that she doesn't know about the people that she's closest to. And that was really, I think that was really clever. The sort of almost that sort of perception, isn't it? Everybody has that sort of, you don't know what happens behind closed doors sort of thing.
Yeah. Does anybody really know anyone? I mean, I'm constantly fascinated by that people, and it happens all the time, even now. I'll discover something about someone, I'm like, what? Like, am I just incredibly naive, or, I sort of am fascinated by that in life, that people hold these massive kind of either parts of themselves that they've compartmentalized, or secrets, or things they've done or are doing. And you kind of, I'm like, what? Like, and I know that I shouldn't be, as you get older, you kind of like, okay, no, that's just people. But it blows my mind every time. Yeah. But I think, especially when you're really, really close to somebody and you've known them an incredibly long time, you kind of just, it's hubris in a way, but you kind of go, no, I know them. I can know them inside out. They would tell me I would know everything about them. Like, I know them. And then you kind of find out that you don't. And you're kind of like, oh, and you kind of have to like recalibrate everything.
Yeah.
The friendship and the history and the moments, and and I think that happens all the time in real life. It certainly happened to me.
Yeah. I think it does. I think
maybe not to the extent of the novel, but
no. But that's really interesting, isn't it? It's like that sort of, the letters sort of unleash a lot about the characters, but also they sort of, I think because Audrey reads, well, she doesn't read them all. We read them all, don't we, as the reader? She reads some of them. She gets access to some of them over the course of her sort of trying to find out what's happened. But was that sort of the letters, did you write them as part of the story, or did you write them separate? Was that sort of, how did you sort of go about that with the book? Because obviously you've got the letters that sort of start the, like you say, they start the sort of chapter, don't they, about that character?
Yeah, no, I always started with the letters, actually. And then, but I kind of, I knew who the people were now, but then in terms of the writing would start with them then. I just found it, because I guess, like you say, it's the reader that has access to them, all of them, not the characters. And so the reader has this privileged kind of lens through which they're beginning the chapter. So they're like, oh, okay, I'm going into this. I think I've got the measure of this person. And then I see them now 20 years later. I'm like, oh, what happened? Or, oh, okay. Like, you know, and that's, I think, hopefully enjoyable for the reader, because you're kind of going, oh, okay, how does that fit together? Or what's missing? Or there's like what happened then? What happened there? And I just think that's either sometimes they're the same, or they've radically changed, or they're alluding to things that you kind of think, well, what were you talking about? Or, and how does that fit with X or Y or Z? And so, so I wrote the teenage versions of them first, and then their adult chapters.
It was really interesting. Which was your favorite character to write? Because I mean,
she's actually not one of the like main, I think, because she's the friend that I told you about, Joanne. So Camille is this character who seems like this airheaded bimbo, and actually is incredibly resilient and strong, and an incredible mother who kind of cares for her son, which so my friend Jo, who cares for her adult daughter, her now adult daughter Paige, like, is like, to be a carer at home. I guess, again, social media kind of brings the reality of that home to you. And I kind of, she'll do an update. She'll do a night shift with her child, with her daughter, like looking after her all night or whatever. And her kind of attitude to life and her kind of strength and resilience is like, oh my God, I'm in absolute awe of her. And I think that all carers in this country, as we know, the kind of the lack of support they get, and just the kind of sheer physical endurance of it and the psychological endurance of it, I find astonishing. And I guess because we were kids together and we grew up together, and again, like, it was just the card that she was dealt. She has other children as well. She's an incredible mother, and she probably has the most positive attitude of anyone I've ever met. So, I'll be moaning about I've had a bad day, and then I'll see her Instagram story and I'm like, shut up now. But like, I guess I have such admiration for her. And so, and I suppose I really enjoyed writing Camille in the novel because of that, but also because she kind of, as Audrey meets her for the first time after 20 years, she has this idea of her as this stupid airheaded bimbo. And she's kind of like, oh, wow, you're like amazing. And I'm surprised and I don't know, it's kind of, I don't know, that sort of admiration and that surprise and that, oh, you're not what I thought you were going to be. You're still kind of immaculately made up, but you're a warrior, basically. And so she was, I guess, my favorite one to write.
I thought Audrey was really interesting, because everybody else seemed to have a perception of her that she didn't really have of herself.
Which I think is really common, that people have, she'd done this kind of noble thing, but she cleans houses and she sort of thinks, oh, I'm a failure. And it's like, well, no, you're not actually. You're kind of amazing. And I've met tons of people who are like that, and you kind of have to kind of jar them out of it and go, no, look, let's just look at this objectively. You're amazing, and you're doing this because of this and this, and also this is not it for you. Like, this isn't the end of your story. There's other things that but I think so I guess those people kind of, I have lots of compassion for those people, but also I admire them, and but you just want to kind of shake them and go, no, one, you're not a failure, and two, this isn't, there's
Yeah.
still a lot of life to go. Like this, it's
Well,
all
she's almost given up, hasn't she? Is it
yeah,
she sort of thinks, well, that's what I was dealt, and that's what I'm going to deal with. But
yeah.
she's not old,
Yeah,
at
but
all.
also, I think it's that thing, isn't it, of like, oh, if you're not a success at, I don't know, 20 or whatever, ridiculous,
Yeah.
or you don't, then, oh, that's it, game over. And it's like,
Yeah.
no. Like, at any age, it's all to play for. It is
Yeah.
all to play for. And it's kind of trying to remind people of that and be like, no, you can do anything.
Yeah.
You can try again. You can do anything. That I think is, hopefully, I think her character arc that the journey that she goes on, that she realizes by the end of the novel, and changes things. Yeah.
Did you have one that you really struggled with? Did you have anybody that like really you just like made you go for long walks or?
Yeah, there's a character called Belinda who has lots of children.
I was going to say she's got lots of children.
And she seems kind of she's never left the seaside town. She doesn't want to leave the town. She loves it. Her family there. She's got no kind of angst or like, she's not like, oh, I didn't fulfill. She's like, no, I'm right where I want to be.
Yeah.
And initially, actually, her kind of arc, her character arc was different. It wasn't as good. It was quite underwhelming. And it was actually in like the final, maybe was it the structural edits of the novel, and my British editor Sophie was like, and I think even my American editor was like, I'm not sure about her arc. It's like, it's a bit, and it was one of those things which often happens in books, and it doesn't just happen to me. I know it happens to lots of my other writer friends. The kind of answer was kind of in there in the book all along, sort of waiting for me to kind of figure it out. And it's not a huge spoiler to say, but she basically kind of runs to becomes the town's MP by the end of the novel, and that chimes with another character in the novel who was in the class who was also an MP. And that was kind of like, that's so good. That's like great. And it was a bit of a sort of like two fingers up. It was like a really to this character who isn't
because the other character is
it was like really it was like, but it was kind of, it made total sense. It's like, of course, she's the perfect MP. She loves where she's from. She's the best place in the world. She's the perfect person. She should represent her constituency. And actually, that's a really great arc for her, and really surprising. Like, she's amazing. She's got 5 kids. Like, she's going to do it. And like, and when I kind of figured that out, and the next draft that I submitted, Sophie, my editor, was like, yes. But it was kind of staring me in the face.
Yeah.
It's funny, like when you do, it always happens to me like that, where you kind of like, I don't know. And often you'll get quite a few drafts in and you're like, oh, of course it was, it's like some new thought that you have, this new external brand new thing that you put in. It was kind of there in the
hiding there in the
you just had to sort of like excavate it. You just weren't, you were a bit, I find that really, really interesting. About, I don't know what it is about, whether it's our subconscious or writing or whatever, but kind of there, you just didn't see it. And I know, like, quite a few, I have this conversation endlessly with my friends, and they'll have a plot problem, and there'll be like 3 drafts, they'll be at kind of almost sometimes copy edit stage, and they're like, and it's such a kind of natural, obvious, organic thing to do, but you just couldn't see it until that point. It's weird, isn't it? It's weird how brains work.
It's funny, people quite often will say, oh, the characters do what they want to do, and they go off in a different direction. And I guess that's the same sort of thing, really. It's just that it's not that, but it's almost like because sometimes I think if you're so much in that planning bit, and you're so sort of blinkered, that creative bit of your brain is almost suppressed.
Is it the left brain? It's the kind of but it's once you get that distance from it, you kind of see it, or you're kind of on a dead, I don't know, the pressure always makes my brain work faster, like, and better.
Yeah.
Horrible, but it does make things work better, unfortunately, for me anyway.
What sort of, when you sort of start writing your books, what sort of comes first for you? Was it with this one? Was it the film that you were like, that's it, and then the setting and the characters sort of come afterwards?
Yeah. It's always the idea or the kind of concept or the top line for me that I have this kind of Word document which is about 40 pages. My problem is I have too many, so I see ideas everywhere and I'm like, oh, I write, and then I go back and look at and see which one kind of, or what the ones I don't even need to go back, I can just remember it and I've thought about it and I'm still thinking about it. And so I'd had the idea for Dear Future Me. I was writing another novel, The Captive, I think, when I had the idea or when I saw the video. And then we left London, we moved back. I wanted to move back home, like you did. It was kind of like we decided to just sell our house in London and move back home to North Yorkshire. And suddenly I was back on this beach that I'd come to all the time as a kid. And so it was really kind of vivid to me in that way, that somewhere that you went all the time and you suddenly come back. And also just being by the sea, quite frankly, all the sky and the cliffs is so vivid when you've been in Walthamstow.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like, oh God, you're really like alert to all these different things because it's so wonderful and new and different, and so I really wanted to write something set there, because it's like I was back, and I guess also that whole coming home thing and going and coming home, I was trying to sort of figure that out in my brain. Even though we'd done it, I was going, oh, have I made a mistake? Have we? London is the successful thing to do, right? But I really wanted to come home, and it feels right, and that's therefore, have I failed by coming home? It was this kind of like weird. So having all these like conversations in my own head about it, and so I guess it was like, oh, this idea is the perfect way to explore that. All the stuff that's swirling around right now.
But especially when you've grown up there and then, you come back and that sort of all fits nicely in together as like coming back, because probably the same as you. There's some people here that were that I went to school with, not many, but there are a few. But in the area, because I'm in Devon, in the area, there's still, I still see a lot of people that I went to school with. So it's not like sort of, some people, like my daughter, she's gone away to Liverpool and, she doesn't have anything to do with anybody that she went to school with. So, but it's just really interesting. Those sort of relationships. And also I think, I went to like a small primary school and then a sort of smallish secondary school. So it wasn't very big and everybody knew everybody. It wasn't like a big town school.
Me too. Yeah. Me too. Yeah, it wasn't. And then I went to like the local sixth form college. It was a big place. Like everybody here knows everybody else. Yeah. Or they know somebody that,
somebody who knows somebody.
Like my older school friend, Jamie, she's an intensive care nurse and she's never left. And she will know. It doesn't matter who I meet. She'll go, oh, I know them, all right. You literally know everybody. And it's partly because she works in the hospital, but it's partly also just because she talks to everyone, and partly because of the nature of the place. And I'm like, how? But also she's incredibly helpful, useful. Like she's my shorthand go-to. I'm like, so tell me about. So I think, that whole coming home thing after I left when I was 18 to go to university and then didn't come, and all my family is still here. And then that whole coming back, and it's that kind of agreed upon narrative, isn't it? That you leave your small hometown and therefore you're a success in the big city. Why would you ever come back? It's so hard to make a success of it then. It's like, well, actually, I just wanted to be able to go for a nice walk. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I just wanted to I've like really missed my brother and really.
Well, and I wanted my kids to grow up in the country where I grew up, which is, that's why I came back, because I wanted them to grow up in a small, I mean, none of them do now, but then that's
Yeah.
a choice.
Yeah, but there's a difference between there's growing up, isn't there? And then there's yes, but I guess all of that was kind of like I was kind of like, is this the, have I made a huge mistake? Am I mad? Like what? You know, even though I've so I guess all of that was swirling around, and I'd never forgotten I've got my big massive Word document of ideas, and there's some I'll kind of look at and go, oh God, I forgot about that. But this one I didn't even have to look. I just remembered it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to write that one. Yeah.
I think probably coming home as well, it was perfect really for just all this come together. And do you think that's what helped your creativity with that sort of thing? You know, just being in that place again? Because have your other books been sort of setting around setting or less so?
My first novel was set at home, I think, because I was a bit homesick. Some of it was at home. And then the next two were in London. They were very limited novels. And then the next one that I've got coming out next year is set at home. But then the one that I'm writing, so I've delivered that, but the one I'm writing after that is set in America. It's totally different. Like,
wow, busy.
Yeah. But I think, and I do think that coming home has helped my creativity, not necessarily because of where I am, but just because of the lifestyle here. There's just like London was a marathon every day. I think back and I think to what I'm like, my God, my goodness, like how did I do? I was right. I mean, you just do it, don't you? But there's more time to walk and think, and also I just kind of think it's such a cliche, isn't it? But everything happens for a reason, and I just kind of think, especially the book I'm having now, I'm writing now, I just think I don't know if I would have ever got to a place where I would have had that idea or have wanted to write about that if I hadn't been living the. I sort of think you're right exactly where you should be right now, and I sort of.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. I do think, I do think that actually, and like Dear Future Me, I'd never had an American book deal before ever.
No.
One of the reasons they loved it was because of the setting. Well, I would never have written that setting if I hadn't have come home. Do you know? I would never have written it vividly. So
that's really interesting because the American market's very different, isn't it, for crime?
Yeah, but apparently they love kind of seaside, like coastal, and
coastal crime.
And small, coastal and
small town. Yeah.
Also, I think there was an article. Did Jen Bowden write it in the book? So they love kind of Yorkshire crime. Weirdly. Yeah, it's like a weird sort of, I guess, but which I had no idea about when I wrote the novel.
I mean, I know that. I mean, they do. I mean, the sort of.
I wouldn't think what Yorkshire was. I guess it's kind of countryside meets. But weird. So
what was your sort of journey to being published?
It was long and painful. I did the thing which I now know lots of novelists do, but I didn't know this at the time. At the time, I felt like an abject kind of fit. I was in like crisis. So I wrote a terrible novel, which will never see the light of day, which got me an agent. It went out on submission and died on submission, thankfully. And then I wrote another novel, which became my first published novel. But that was not straightforward.
No.
I kind of, I got rejected by every single publisher in the UK. Everyone turned it down. And the only reason it got published was because Zafra Bonnier set up shop. Literally the only reason it got published was because a new publisher set up shop in the UK and they took it on. That was the only reason. But
everything happens for a reason, as you said.
That also happened to Chris Whitaker. I mean, look at him now. He's stratospheric. We got taken on at the same time by the same publisher. We had both been rejected by everyone. The only reason we got a deal, I think TM Logan as well, maybe, was because they set up shop and Joel Richardson was looking for people and he gave us a deal. That was literally it. And it sold 100,000 copies. It was like it did really well. So it's one of those funny old things where you kind of go, oh, okay. So yeah, it was kind of tons. I was literally rejected by everybody. Like there was no one left to send the book to. And so I always just tell us whenever I'm like asked to do talks or anything, I'm like really honest about it, because I'm just like,
yeah, I think it's really, I think it helps so many people, because I think people do a bit like you said before about that sort of being a failure, is that some people are really lucky and they get a book deal quickly, but it's
so
really,
many are not.
really rare.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that at the time, and I didn't know, and I felt like everyone thought I was delusional. They were like, well, you've written one novel. Look how long that took you and it got rejected. Why would you try writing another one? I'm like, because I just really want to write books. But people thought I was delusional. And it's only now that I know that's so common. So many writers write their first novel and it gets them somewhere, but they have to put it in a drawer and then they write the one that, or it might even be a couple more before they, and that's normal and that's okay. But I didn't know that at the time. And I also just didn't know how commonplace rejection, like, I mean, I really, really, really got rejected. Like, it was like last chance saloon, like, and so, yeah, it was long and painful. But the rejections keep coming. That's the other thing I didn't realize. They keep coming throughout your career. So you just kind of have to roll with the, you just have to, okay, well, fine, move on. I think, is it V. Schwab? Who I've never read, but I find her really interesting. She writes this amazing newsletter. She writes fantasy, which I don't really read.
No, I don't either.
She sort of says, if your book doesn't sell, or it doesn't sell very well, you still got to write it. Whether your book does well and sells, or your book is rejected, you're still going to need another book. So just write another book.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, she's right. Just write another book. You just need to write another one, and then another one if you need,
So many authors sort of have, I've spoken to crime authors who were romance authors before and had it, and have been reinvented themselves with a different name because actually romance wasn't their genre, but crime was, or
Well, so, the book I'm writing now, which is like this big batshit, like big novel, the one set in America, is almost like sci-fi thriller.
Oh wow, they're really.
But it's like. And I'm like loving it. And I'm kind of like, oh, am I becoming a sci-fi? Like, maybe it's still a thriller, but it's like, it's very sci-fi, but not in a kind of like rockets and I don't know.
No.
I don't know, like how but like, yeah. And so you just kind of go, I think you shouldn't be confined either by, like, I'll never write nice, fluffy. I know I'll never write romance. I know I'll never write like feel good, warm fiction, because there's too much darkness. Like I like reading crime. I like thinking about it. I like reading dark thriller, like, complicated. I don't read that stuff. I don't want to write that stuff. I want to write the dark stuff. Or the thrillers, I love the kind of puzzles, putting together puzzles and thrillers, and but that is quite a big world, right? So there's different parts of that. So so I'm doing that at the moment. I'm really enjoying it. I like, but who knows? Maybe it'll publish under a different name or something. I don't know. But I'm like, this is quite fun. But like.
Really, because some authors do have different genres and write under different names, and you can do that, and particularly people who have done like TV and things like that will quite often do script writing and then sort of plays and all that sort of stuff. So
I think if you just like ideas and stories, which I do, but like I say, I know I'll never write a romance or. Like,
well, if you did, they'd probably the main character would have to die.
Yeah, like it would be pretty. It's just not. I don't read it. I don't want to write it. Like like same for fantasy. It's just not my thing. But
I wouldn't even know where to start with a fantasy. Really,
no. It's kind of amazing. It's like another language to me.
Yeah, it is to me, and it's just
love it. It's wonderful. It's great, but like
no,
it doesn't, it just doesn't, horses for courses, isn't it?
Who inspires you as writing? Who has inspired your writing?
God, she's only written 2 novels. Tracy Sierra, who wrote Night Watching, I would read her shopping lists, quite frankly. I thought Night Watching was one of the best novels I've ever read in my life. And it just really inspired me to just try and be a better writer, and try and make my prose better.
Yeah.
She really inspires me. Gillian McAllister really inspires me just because of her work ethic and how passionate she is just about the craft. And I think she's just really inspiring. Her kind of, again, I think her prose is amazing, that she writes really high quality prose, but manages to kind of cross over into commercial. I think Liz Moore, who wrote The God of the Woods, is incredible. I don't know, they're just, so I don't know.
Great names there.
I loved, what's it called? Was it Razorblade? No, All the Sinners Bleed by S.A. Cosby. Have you read that?
No.
So All the Sinners Bleed, S.A. Cosby. Like, thank me later. Thank me later.
I'll write it down.
Good. He's such a good writer. And I read that when it came out maybe 2 years ago, and then I just went and read everything else he'd written.
I love that. I really love that.
He's like, All the Sinners. I think All the Sinners Bleed is my favorite. I think it's his best, but you'll inhale it. You will just inhale. He's such a good writer. So I just love when I find a book that I want other people. Tracy Sierra, Night Watching. I know, it was one of those, all my writer friends were like, oh my God, she is.
Yeah, see, I really veer away from those books because they scare me slightly, because I don't want to be the person who goes, oh, I don't like it. I'm sure I won't. It's just that I tend to, if it's a book that everybody's recommending, I tend to wait a bit and then decide whether I want to read it. And not, quite often I do.
Yeah, I do that. I can kick back against it. I'm like, well, and then I kind of, it's like when someone recommends a TV show to you, then you're like, oh, actually, it is great. You're right.
Yeah.
You were right. I'm sorry.
It was good.
Night Watching, I just think because her prose was just, and I just inhaled it. But I felt like that about All the Sinners Bleed. They were books that I read and I was like, I have to go and buy them in hardback because I want to keep them, because I want to look back and see how they did it, the craftsmanship. But it was also just readable. Oh my God, can't stop reading this. But
that's when I did a creative writing course a while ago, one of the things that she said in the course was about, picking a book that you would like to write and then use that as your model.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting that you've sort of picked out too there, that, not that you want to rewrite that book, but it's just to...
you just kind of go, how did they, the scenes are imprinted in my memory, or the way they did character. And I'm like, how did they do it? And I literally look back at it. So I'll put it off the shelf and I'll be like, okay, how did they do that?
Yeah.
And it's really interesting to kind of study it and look at it, because it's effortless, but it's not. It's really clever. Those are people that inspire me, and that. But I mean, I read voraciously all the time.
And you obviously read crime as well, so you don't. Some people can't read what they write, but
I mean, I thought The Death of Us by Abigail Dean was extraordinary. I don't know if you've read that, which came out earlier this year. It's, again, she is just an incredible writer. As in, her prose is just, and her is just interstellar.
You're not doing much for my TBR list. I mean, behind me.
Also, it was so scary. I was reading it in bed. It's like a kind of character. It's almost like a study of this couple that have endured trauma, but when she's going back in time, it's about repeated home invasions, and then it's the story of this couple that experiences it, and the trial is now happening. They've caught the guy, and it's historic, and he's being tried in court. But she kind of goes back in time to when their home invasion happened. And I was reading it in bed. My husband next to me, and I was like, I have to, please stop. Can we just go and do something else? I was so kind of scared and sort of upset. And but she wrote Girlie, and but she's like, as a, like, when it comes to writing, she's like, wow, okay, you're pretty amazing, you know, like, just like, I love it. I'm like, I love a good writer. Like, I love it when I kind of read the writing. I used to feel like that about Susie Steiner. I thought Susie Steiner's novels were beautifully written. Like, just her prose just is extraordinary. But no, I read all the time. I love, you know.
So we're just coming up to the end of the hour, which has just flown by, and
it has. Oh my god!
So you mentioned quickly that you've got another book coming out next year.
Yeah. So the one that I've written, I'll be doing edits on, is the moment it's called The Vision Board. So do you know what a vision board is?
Yeah. So, where you have all your sort of things that you want, you know.
Yeah. Again, so I'm fascinated by vision boards. So in this novel, it's New Year's Eve. A woman is doing her vision board. It's got all the classic stuff on it, you know, the places she wants to travel, the dream house she wants to live in, the dream job, blah, blah, blah. And there's one space in the bottom right-hand corner, and the doorbell goes, and it's a police officer telling her that this man who committed this awful crime against her a few years earlier has been let out on early release. And so she's gutted, horrified. She comes back into her living room, and she kind of depicts on her vision board a very grisly, very specific death for him, because she kind of hates him, and it's horribly unfair that he's been released early. And then 6 months later, he is killed in the exact, very specific way that she depicted on her vision board. And that's the story. And it's like, did she do it? Did she not do it? If she didn't do it, who did it?
Who did it? Because somebody, wow, that sounds amazing. So when's that out? Is that out?
Next. I don't know what, they haven't decided on the pub date yet, but next year. That'll be out next year. Yeah.
Well, you'll have to come and talk to us about it.
Yeah, I will. Thank you so much.
I love the sound of that. That's brilliant. Well, thank you for Dear Future Me, because it is a cracker of a read. If you're looking for something that's sort of you're gonna pick up and you're not gonna want to put down until you've finished, then this is the book for you. I absolutely loved it. Thank you. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And I'm back tomorrow night.
Wow.
I know, I've got 2 this week. I'm talking to Jo Furness about her book.
Oh, amazing.
So I'll see everybody back then tomorrow. And thank you, Deborah. And good luck with the book.
Yeah, lovely to talk to you. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Bye.